Hello and welcome to Fuzzy Loaf Comic Club. This is a new show that me and Scott wanted to do. I've wanted to do this for a while, where we go through either an alternate story or like a story arc or a volume of a
graphic novel.
Yeah, or a graphic novel. And then we talk about whether or not we liked it, and we talk about the story, and we just shoot the shit like two nerds.
Yeah.
So I'm your host, Matt, and with me is Scott.
As always.
Yep. And today we chose DC's Forever Evil, which is, I believe it started in September of 2013 and ended in May of 2014.
Can't believe it's been that long already.
Yeah.
But we wanted to do this one because for me, it was like my favorite New 52 thing that I've read.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I read it this is, of course, waiting for me to screw up the first episode. I read this a long time ago. And I was going to try to read it again for this week, but I just have not had the time to.
Yeah. And
so I think it'd be kind of cool to see, since you just read it.
Yep.
Like, when did you finish it?
I finished it last night.
So perfect. It's really fresh. For me, I read it like almost a year ago.
Okay. So for obvious reasons, there will be spoilers. So if you have not read the comic, I highly recommend that you go read it. I guess non-spoiler right now, you obviously read it a long time ago, and you said you enjoyed it, that it's one of your favorite.
It's because I'm not a fan of the new, really anything in the New 52.
I really liked, and this kind of reminded me of that, the Young Justice or whatever. I forget what they called. I forget what they called the run, but I read like 4 trades of it. Same artist, I think.
Okay.
Might have even been written by Jeff Johns, which is the
did he do Forever Evil? I do like his stuff.
Yeah.
So, the stuff I did like in New 52 was Green Lantern. I really liked Green Lantern, New 52 stuff.
See, and I've never even delved into Green Lantern myself, so I don't know.
All right. So should we say who? Well, we said Jeff Johns, right?
Yeah, Jeff Johns was, I think, the lead writer on it. There was obviously a number of other people that helped write it.
Yeah, there were spin-off issues to it, but we're focusing on the main collection, the collection that you can buy at the comic book store.
Yep. And then it was David Finch and Richard Friend. I have it written down. Let me double check.
Yeah, see, because I just remember the characters in it, the main things that happen for the most part.
So we have David Finch and Richard Fiend did artists.
I loved the art in the book.
Yeah, I wrote, it looks like typical DC style, but it's good. It's not bad. Don't fix what isn't broken.
Right. So how do you want to get into this? How do you want to start with, as you just read it, so I think you should start with what you have to say about it.
Okay.
What your feelings are, some of the plot points, I guess.
Okay, so I wrote a bunch of plot points, but basically what it boils down to is we have Justice League is killed or incapacitated.
They're gone.
Yeah. And then an alternate universe of the Justice League takes over. They're the ones that killed them, called the Crime Syndicate.
I love alternate universe stories.
Same with me.
So I didn't even know at first this was a Crime Syndicate thing when I started reading it.
Oh, I see. I have no idea what the Crime Syndicate even is.
They're from Earth 3.
Okay.
They're the opposite Justice League. They're
and
evil counterparts.
You can kind of
Ultraman, Owlman, Superwoman.
I actually have all of
Johnny Quick,
Atomica.
Power. She's new. She's new for the New 52. Power Ring, and Deathstorm. He's I think also new.
And then Grid.
Grid's also new.
And then I guess we're already spoiling stuff.
But then there's an Aquaman counterpart. I forgot what his
name
is. He apparently dies.
Yeah.
When they come to not Earth 1, this is Prime Earth.
I don't know.
New 52 is weird. Their numbering system is like the New 52 regular continuity that you read is like Earth 0.
Yeah.
And then there's 1, 2, and 3.
Okay. I have no idea because I read chunks of DC stories. I've always been a fan of Batman stories for whatever reason, so I read a lot of Batman. I've read some Superman stuff, but mostly older Superman. Of the New 52 stuff, I think I've only read a few Batman things, and then Flash, and then Young Justice, and I think Red and the Outlaws. I read
Red Hood and the Outlaws.
Yeah, Red Hood and the Outlaws.
Okay,
I read some of that.
So, what else did you want to say? Sorry, I got us on.
No, you're fine.
Tangent.
So they left their version of Earth to come here because some mysterious creature, alien, killed like everything on their planet, destroyed their planet.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be the Anti-Monitor.
Yeah, but they don't specifically say that until the very last frame, where
was it the very last frame of the whole thing?
Oh, well,
yeah. We said spoilers at the beginning. So.
Yeah. Well, I imagine if people are watching this.
I mean, if you've read DC and you know anything about the crises and crises, it's always the Anti-Monitor who's destroying all of the universes. So
yeah, and see, I'm not huge or I'm not well versed on DC. So at the end, Superman thinks that it's Darkseid. I never know how to pronounce that.
Well, you've probably only read it. You've never heard it. It's Darkseid.
Exactly. So he goes, it's Darkseid or whatever, and then it shows it's Anti-Monitor at the end.
Okay.
So, but other than that, okay. So character like development, for obvious reasons, Lex is, in my opinion, the best character.
Well, I think Lex Luthor is just a great character.
No, same with me. He's my favorite. I think he's one of my favorite comic book characters, but he's my favorite DC character by far.
Yeah, I think he's an amazing character that people don't understand because the movies have played him out to be some kind of like, I'm just some super rich, I want to make a lot of money criminal guy. No, he's much more complex, and he is greatly developed.
I think this is going to sound weird. Marvel's Daredevil that was just on Netflix. Wilson Fisk is the best, Lex Luthor.
Yeah, that's a good point. Wilson Fisk in Daredevil
thinks that he's doing he wants the same thing as Superman for like the world to be safe. He just thinks that Superman is not the way to go.
He's holding humans back from their potential. And I think that's a great point where you almost kind of side with Lex Luthor sometimes.
Yeah.
If there's one thing that this series and DC, it just proves that DC's villains are way better than Marvel's villains.
Yeah.
Like DC has the best villains. I mean, and this run really demonstrates that.
Yeah. Okay. So besides that, I think the Crime Syndicate, it was really cool to see like the opposites of all of the characters, or not exactly opposites, but kind of like their evil counterparts, I guess.
Yeah.
But then I don't know. I thought it was really cool to see that kind of stuff, and then the reveal that Superwoman was Lois and not.
Well, that's always. I guess I always knew.
And see,
I always knew that.
I didn't know
because
that.
I read Earth 3 stories before.
Yeah,
that's her secret identity in Earth 3 is Lois Lane.
Yeah, and in that universe, she sides with their universe's Lex Luthor.
Yeah, kind of. That's kind of jumping ahead.
Well,
right?
Yeah.
Well, also, so since the Justice League are gone and
the
Crime Syndicate is wreaking havoc, they're calling forth for like all the villains, right? All the bad guys.
Yeah, they're going like major city to major city, destroying the cities, and
recruiting
the bad guys, so they can basically rule the world.
But Lex Luthor's like, no way, not having. So Lex Luthor gets some of the other bad guys. They're also like, yeah, no, I don't.
Yeah, we have the Rogues from Central City,
led by Captain Cold.
Yeah, they get separated and stuck in a mirror dimension.
Because of Mirror Master.
Yeah, because of Mirror Master. And then so Captain Cold joins with Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor also had a secret project where he's cloning Superman called B-Zero, which I thought that was so good.
This was the introduction of Bizarro to the New 52. Now, what did you think of Bizarro? You probably don't know anything about Bizarro.
I read, it must have been one of the late 90s DC comics where I think it's Lex Luthor. No, it's not President Lex. It was one of the other stories with Superman that introduced Bizarro. I like the character.
Yeah.
I like that he's just.
I thought he was kind of cool in this one.
I thought it was really cool.
I just love his power set. How he's got like ice vision and like he breathes fire. Like, oh, that's so cooler than Superman.
Yeah. Well, and I love he's a great character because he kind of grounds Lex Luthor in humanity. You see like this kind of gentler side to him.
They kind of develop a father-son relationship in the comic.
Yeah. And then also we have Black Adam joins the Injustice League, the group with Lex Luthor.
Yeah, is it also
Black Manta
and Sinestro?
Yes.
Literally like the coolest villains.
Yeah. Well, it's great because they're not afraid to kill. Like this is the more efficient Justice League, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. They're like a Justice League with like no boundaries.
Yeah, because like they want to save the Earth, they want to wipe out the crime
And they
syndicate,
will kill anyone
yeah,
who they need to stop. They will.
yeah. I thought that was really cool. And then okay, so we at the beginning we think everybody's dead.
Yeah,
that all of the Justice League is dead. It gets revealed, I think, in like issue 3 that Catwoman's alive. Obviously, she's not Justice League, but Catwoman's alive, Batman's alive, and Cyborg somehow lived, although all of his robotic parts were reformed
because
as Grid.
Grid was like a virus or something implanted into Cyborg, and like ripped all the parts out of Cyborg, and became a full like robot, and so they had to like rebuild Cyborg.
Yeah. So that
was cool. Now that I think about it,
yeah, it was really cool. And
this is all coming back to me because I read this a long time ago.
Yeah, and then from there, Batman obviously has to go back to his lair to try to get his contingency plan, which is I think it's like 9. There's one for most of the Justice League. These items that are like could bring them down. He has it just in case.
6. I think there's 7 members of the Justice League.
I think there was 8 boxes, but some of them didn't have stuff in them.
Maybe there's more because they added Shazam and stuff.
Yeah. But what it is it's the items that could potentially kill or incapacitate the Justice League in case Batman ever needed to.
Yeah. Which he always has in every version in the comics.
Yeah. But he quickly finds out that their opposites aren't weak to the same things.
So like in this, Ultraman is powered by kryptonite,
but weak to sunlight.
So what they do as soon as Earth 3 guys come, they push them. He pushes the moon.
Yeah.
In front of I'm pretty sure that would screw up a lot of things. But you suspend your disbelief.
It's comics. Well, it's comics. It's superheroes.
So it's in like a permanent nighttime. And so what he does is he's finding kryptonite all over the world, and he's crushing it up and snorting it.
Yeah. It's like a drug for him. He's also addicted to it because he's addicted to his power.
Yeah.
We also some other plot points that maybe we should cover. Superwoman is pregnant.
Yep.
And it's weird because at first they make you think that it's Owlman's.
Yeah, because she has a thing going on with Owlman, and because she's married to Ultraman.
Yeah, she's married to Ultraman, but she has a thing going on with Owlman, and she makes Owlman think that it's his and that they need to do something to stop Ultraman. Then she tells Ultraman that she's pregnant and it's his, and Owlman is trying to scheme against them. And then it turns out that it's really, and this is really spoilers, but it's Alexander Luthor, which is the
Earth 3 version of Lex Luthor.
Who, okay, is it explained in Earth or in those stories how he has powers?
No, not in the ones that I've read before.
Okay.
Not before New 52. This is a totally different take that I know of. So you find out throughout the whole comic that the crime syndicate is keeping this hostage, and like their version of Alfred or whatever is looking over the hostage,
which I thought was kind of cool. He's kind of a nod to the Joker.
Well, he's been like poisoned with the Joker serum.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's his thing. Yeah. What else am I missing? So I feel like we're jumping ahead. We're
jumping all over. Yeah, it's a discussion.
So you find out that someone makes the mistake of like releasing the hostage, and
it's Captain Cold. He pulls the mask off, or pulls the bag off of his head, and he goes, "Who are you?" And then he pulls off the tape, and then he yells, Mazaz,
which is the reverse Shazam.
Yeah, which is the opposite of Shazam.
And he becomes powered. And so I guess what he does is he like kills other heroes or villains and takes their power. Yeah. That's how we got the Mazaz powers, I guess.
Yeah. Which I thought that was great.
I thought that was cool. I thought that was crazy when I read that.
Yeah.
Can I just say, like, this part that sticks out to me the most is when, so with the New 52, somehow the rogues, because they always never used to have powers.
Yeah.
In the comics.
They
had weapons. And then in the New 52, they've gained powers somehow. I don't remember how.
In this, they explain they alter their DNA to directly so it's like their weapon
their
and their
weapons,
DNA are tied to them.
Well, now they've lost their powers again.
Yeah.
Or at least Captain Cold has.
In this. Because Deathstorm like affects their DNA or affects his DNA specifically and undoes whatever they did.
Yeah,
to
so he doesn't
alter them.
But Captain Cold is, a really smart, he's a genius.
Mm-hmm.
He builds a new cold gun.
Yeah.
Or whatever, and he's fighting Johnny Quick. And I forget like the dialogue that happens, but he freezes Johnny Quick's leg and smashes it. And it's like literally breaks off his leg.
So what happens is he made the gun so that it was voice activated, and Johnny Quick grabs the gun away from him and has it pointed down and says, what are you going to do now? Like, whatever. And it's like he's going to kill him. And then he yells, whatever it is, activate, and it shoots his leg, and then he punches it and it breaks. And he goes, the difference between you and Flash is I have an agreement with Flash and you only have one leg, or something like that. It's
some
like
kind
a
of witty
line.
Yeah. But I loved it. Captain Cole, I never really thought of as much of a character, but in this, he stands out and he was amazing.
Well, and he was also great because he's, besides Deathstroke, which does join up with them later. I think it was like issue 5 or 6, so it was close to the end. He's the only one that doesn't have, and Lex Luthor, I guess. He's the only one that doesn't have powers.
Yeah. The thing with Captain Cold is he is a bad guy, technically, but he is a man of his word.
Yeah. Well, same with the rest of the rogues. That's what sets the rogues apart from other villains. Is
they do have
a code of conduct.
They don't kill, but that's their agreement with the Flash.
Well, and it comes up at one part where Power Ring and Deathstorm come to Central City and say, you guys haven't upheld your part of the deal for us to keep you alive. You're supposed to destroy the city. And he said, but there's children and hospitals and old people here. They need to be evacuated. And they said, that's exactly the point. Kill them.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, we're not going to do that.
Yeah. That's why I was like the rogues. They're very interesting.
Yeah.
More complicated villains than just psychopaths or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. So there was a few other things that I want to talk about. Nightwing. They capture Nightwing in, I think, like issue 1 or 2, and they reveal his secret identity, which
to
is
the
Dick
world.
Grayson.
Which I thought, when I read the comic, I thought it was kind of dumb. I was like, you reveal Nightwing's secret identity. Literally, you don't have to be Lex Luthor to piece everything together then.
Yeah.
Once you find out Nightwing's Dick Grayson, now I know that Bruce Wayne is Batman. Oh, Tim Drake is Red Robin. Oh, Damian Wayne must be Robin. You just literally you could piece everything together so easily with just that information.
And that was
anybody could do that.
That was one of the weakest parts of the comic, I thought, was so there's some moments between Catwoman and Batman where she's like, I want to know who you are, all this stuff, and he said no, we need to keep our distance. Everybody around me dies. And then it gets revealed that Dick Grayson is Nightwing, and she somehow is like, why does that matter? Why do you care about this person? It's like, really? You didn't put any of this together? Nightwing used to be Robin, and then it's like Robin's attached to Batman.
Everybody is so dumb.
Yeah.
But except for Lex Luthor. I mean, obviously Lex Luthor's smart, but you don't need to be Lex Luthor genius to figure this shit out.
Yeah. And then some other cool stuff that happened. I thought that how Lex Luthor took down both Ultraman and Alexander Luthor was really cool. Just using his cunning, he tried to use
how did he take down Ultraman again? I know how he took down Alexander Luthor.
Ultraman, he distracted him, and Black Adam and Sinestro pushed the moon just a tiny bit so sunlight came through, and then he was just weak enough that I think just punched him.
Yeah, because I know he didn't kill Ultraman. He doesn't kill Ultraman. Yeah,
because what he did is he was like, you think that you have me, and he's like, really, I made this solar gun that's going to kill you, all this stuff. And then as he's doing this kind of monologue, trying to take up some time, they went and pushed the sun.
Yeah.
or pushed the moon so that the sun could peek through.
Yeah.
And Ultraman was distracted and destroyed, Lex Luthor's weapon, thinking that was going to save him. But
right. I know they don't kill Ultraman. Do they kill Owlman?
no, Owlman is loose and following Dick Grayson at the end.
Okay.
You see,
I didn't.
You
I
see
don't
one
remember
panel towards the end where Owlman is perched in what seems to be Gotham, and you see Dick Grayson not as a superhero, like just in normal street clothes on the street. I'm assuming it's supposed to be Dick Grayson.
I also know that they capture Superwoman.
Yes, and she is pregnant,
right?
Like full on pregnant
with Alexander Luthor's baby.
Mm-hmm.
Lex Luthor does kill Alexander Luthor.
Yes, he does.
He says since their voice is the same, they're essentially the same person.
Yeah.
He says Mazaz. The lightning comes down and changes him again.
Yeah, he has.
How does he kill him?
He had the rod, the Flash rod, the rod that was supposed to be to incapacitate the Flash. He has that shoved through his heart. So like he already got that in, and Black Adam tried to use Shazam on him,
but it didn't work.
So Alexander Luthor gets in close to Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor puts his hand on and yells Mazah, and it shoots through, I guess, the rod, and then he shoves the rod in even deeper because his powers were taken away.
And kills him.
So it kills him.
Okay. I thought that was pretty badass.
Yeah. And there's another part with Lex Luthor that I thought was really cool and not typical for a DC comic, which is Dick Grayson is hooked up to the murder machine, which is meant for, now I'm not going to remember who it was meant for. It's like a big DC villain, and the only way to stop the machine from
Doomsday.
setting off Doomsday, like an atomic bomb in the room that it's, so like it locks anybody that's in there in.
Yeah.
And then it starts a timer, and the only way to stop the timer is to kill the thing attached to the machine.
Yeah.
So
but they obviously don't kill Dick Grayson.
Lex Luthor does, but then he brings him back.
Oh yeah, that's right. So, yeah.
And so Batman
magic.
Yeah, I was gonna say Batman. Lex Luthor says we have to kill him, and Dick Grayson's like, just do it. I don't want you guys to die. And then Batman obviously is in the room with them and says, no, that's why I'm not gonna let you do that. And then Bizarro and Batman start fighting, and then Lex Luthor goes and he claims that he put some pill in to like stop his heart, and then he used some serum or something to bring him back afterwards after he explained what happened to Batman. But I think like a couple pages later, Catwoman goes, did you really do that? Because he walked over and held his hand over his mouth, and he says, does it matter now? So he might have actually just killed Dick Grayson and brought him back somehow.
I don't know, comic magic,
whatever.
Yeah.
But I thought that was great because it showed that Lex Luthor was like willing, unlike Superman or Batman, is willing to do anything to like,
do what needs to be done.
Yeah, which is a big difference between the Injustice League and the Justice League.
Yeah, that's true.
There's another great moment where Cyborg comes back. He's been rebuilt and he killed Grid, and this is right after that moment where they kill Dick Grayson and bring him back. There's like banging on the door, and then they're like, oh no, what's going on? And then he comes through and he has like Grid's head and just drops it on the ground. And it's like, that's the last. I think he said something like, we have a couple minutes before they realize what happened.
When they first did the New 52, and I was like, oh, you're replacing Martian Manhunter with Cyborg? That's weird because he's a Teen Titan.
Yeah.
But then I thought, then later on, I'm like, Cyborg is kind of a good fit for the Justice League.
Yeah.
Because Martian Manhunter is super OP. And I really
he's one of my favorite comic book characters, but he's way OP.
But the thing is with him, nobody knows how to write him because he's so different and strange. So I was like, it's probably a good idea. Because in the Justice League animated series, he's on the team for like the first 2 seasons or whatever. Then when it becomes Justice League Unlimited, I think they reached the point where like, we don't know how to write for Jean anymore. What do we do with, because his powers are incredible. What do we do with him? Just make him the dispatch guy. So I'm just like, what? So I think it was just kind of smart to move him around and make Cyborg, who I've always really liked him, make him part of the Justice League.
Yeah, I love the Teen Titans. And that's the comic I was trying to think of. I don't know why I was thinking Young Justice. I think I was thinking Young Justice because because of the animated series.
Which should be like the New 52.
The New 52
should just
Teen
be Young
Titans.
Justice.
Yeah, the New 52 Teen Titans. That was one that I read that was really good. And I think it was drawn and colored by the same two guys. Yeah. I don't know. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
What do you think about Power Ring? Who is basically, it was like the Green Lantern counterpart, but he's like some kind of weakling guy who's possessed by the ring.
I thought it was cool. I actually liked that better than Green Lantern. Although, like I said, I haven't read any solo Green Lantern stories, but I like the idea that this ring is like the thing that's trying to be in control of you. Yeah. And he's like this kind of wimpy, psychotic person.
Yeah, like death for him is like a release from the rings.
He says after he gets his arm cut off by Sinestro, he says thank you. And then Sinestro says, "Don't thank me," and then blows up his body or whatever.
Sinestro's awesome.
Yeah,
I love the villains of DC.
Yeah,
like honestly, I would love like a spin-off or like alternate world comic that is the Injustice League.
Yeah,
and their take on like saving the Earth. So like there is no Justice League anymore or whatever. There's only Lex Luthor, Sinestro, Black Adam, Black Manta, maybe Bizarro, Captain Cold. I would love to see an Injustice League saving, like doing their like
that. You know. Yeah, that's one of those things. That's one of the things about DC. Their villains are really good, in my opinion. Their heroes kind of are lackluster because they're too rigid.
They're basically like Greek,
they're Boy Scouts.
They're basically like Greek gods.
Well, yeah, they're too powerful, and they're like the biggest things that happen are when they make mistakes and something. They die on it, or something dies on accident.
Also, in this, we find out that Justice League didn't die, but Deathstorm somehow.
Firestorm.
No, Deathstorm.
Well, Deathstorm locked them inside of Firestorm.
Oh, that's so weird.
Yeah.
How did they kill Deathstorm? Because they did kill Deathstorm. They had to.
Alexander Luthor did.
Oh, yeah. That's right. He did and absorbed his power because he's a psycho. Okay. What I thought was kind of weird is, so, or maybe not weird, but I'm just realizing this now. I thought they're the they're the counterparts, evil counterparts, right? Or, so like usually in Earth 3, there's some of the bad guys of the continuity that we know are good guys. Yeah. Well, Alexander Luthor is clearly a bad guy. He's fucking psycho. Does that mean our Lex Luthor is truly a good guy?
This is where because
I mean, if Lex Luthor was technically the bad guy, he would be the good guy.
But it's one of those, he's the bad guy to that universe's bad guys, if you know what I mean. He's not a good guy. He's just an enemy of the enemy, if that makes sense.
Oh, that's true too. So maybe that's like the case of
Lex Luthor
in the same vein.
He's a hero. He's just not a hero.
He's a bad, he's a hero to the Earth. He's a bad guy to the Justice League.
Yeah.
That could make sense.
Yeah.
So this guy's a bad guy to the Injustice League, which makes him just really extra bad.
Yeah.
Okay, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know. I liked this run too much, so much. I think
I knew you'd like it. I suggested it.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, kitty.
She's hiding under the table. The only thing that I thought could have made it better is if it was slightly longer. I thought it was a little too short.
Yeah. Well, and then there was a big gap between issue 7 and issue 8.
Yeah.
When it came out, the way I read it, I read the first 7 issues, and then I had to wait months for issue 8 to come out.
Well, and it was one of those things that I think, like you said, it would be really cool to see, even if it was like one a year, like an annual story of the Injustice League, like an alternate universe where
the Justice League is actually
dead.
Yeah. Kitty, stop. So,
I don't know. I don't want to do like normal scores, like 1
I don't really because I don't want this to be a review show. I want this to just be us talking about what we read.
Obviously, we both enjoyed it, and we would recommend you go read it if you haven't read it. Although, if you've watched this far, you've probably had it ruined for you.
Yeah,
but
it's comic club. It's like a book club.
Yeah,
but we read comics and talk about it. So hopefully, you've read it too. Or you still like, even though we spoiled it a lot, you should still check it out because it's still a really good story.
Yeah,
I'm one who like spoilers aren't that big of a thing for me. It does not ruin the experience of reading or seeing something.
Yeah, it's still fun to go read it. And if you want to go read this, obviously support your local comic book stop or store.
Yeah. We do the show on Wednesdays now.
Yeah.
Because Wednesdays are the day new comics come out at comic book stores.
Yep. And then if you can't afford to go out and buy it, another good place to go is your local library. A lot of local libraries will have comic book sections, or you can request comic books. I know that I would do that all the time when we were living in Maplewood. I would just go there, see what they had, and just grab a bunch of comics and read them.
My roommates do that quite a bit.
Yeah. It's great for stuff like this, where this has been out for,
a while now.
Over a year.
It's probably at a library.
Yeah.
I almost bought it, even though I already read it, but.
Yeah. Do you want to get into what? Maybe we should do this at the top of. We'll do it at the end now. But
I want to talk about things that happen at the end of the comic.
Okay.
That kind of like lead towards what happened in the Justice League afterwards. So at the end of the comic, because of Dick Grayson, Lex Luthor is obviously able to figure out who Bruce Wayne is.
Yep.
And he uses that as leverage to get into the Justice League. Him and I think he brings Captain Cold with him. They join the Justice League, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Dick Grayson becomes like a secret agent. He basically becomes Winter Soldier, which is kind of weird. He basically becomes Bucky Barnes from Marvel.
Yeah.
In DC, it's like he gets his own run. It's like Dick Grayson, agent of.
Oh yeah, I think
whatever.
I remember seeing those. I think those got pretty good reviews, so maybe I'll check them out. I don't know.
The covers
kind of spy
cool.
comics from what I've read.
Bizarro dies.
Yeah, which is sad.
Let's just figure out every spoiler we can think of.
B0. I just love that B0, and he Bizarro, and I was like, oh shit, it's Bizarro.
Yeah.
Like I didn't put that connection
you didn't
together.
Think about
no,
it?
I was like, oh, it's just a fucked up clone of Superman.
I knew it was Bizarro right away, but
yeah.
Any
other?
So, at the end, the power ring, ring, goes off to find a new host.
Oh yeah,
which kind of leads to the next arc of Justice League afterwards.
And that is,
which I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Just the next arc in the comics that happens.
Okay.
Yeah. Not the big event like this.
Yeah.
So what did you want to do with the you said you wanted to do the top? We're working out the kinks.
We're working out the kinks. I was gonna say at the top of the show is when we should talk about what comic we're gonna do next or whatever. So if you haven't read the comic, you can be like, okay, I'm gonna tune in next week for that one.
No, we should do that at the end of it.
Yeah. Semantics. Well, because if they haven't read Forever Evil, but they might be interested in another one, you know what I mean? Like, I haven't read Forever Evil, but I have read Batman Earth 1, Volume 1, which is going to be next week's.
No, Volume 2 is going to be next
We should do Volume 1 first, because I was thinking about that.
Oh, okay. We can.
I mean, we can do it the other way if you wanted, but I was thinking because then by that time, I think we'll be on Secret Wars Volume 4, so then we can do that one the next week.
Well, I was just thinking doing Volume 2 because it came out
this week.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to do.
Well,
I was going to say
you haven't read Volume 1, so we can do Volume 1.
No, I have read Volume 1.
Oh, you have read Volume 1?
Yeah, I was going to say we could do Volume 1 next week, Volume 2 the following
week. I
read
read Volume 1 when it first came out.
Yeah.
However many years ago that was.
I read it like last year.
Okay. I mean, we'll figure it out. So next week we're either going to do Volume 1 or Volume 2.
Yeah. And then also you can put in the comments, Cat, stop batting at stuff.
Get out of here.
Quit being a turd.
Get.
In the comments you can vote for comics that you would like us to talk about. We'd love to, like I said, we want to do either contained storylines, volumes, or like trade issues maybe.
Yeah, graphic novels. So things that only exist in like one book.
Yeah. We could always do, I don't know. I was gonna say like Saga or something, but maybe
it doesn't have to be Marvel, DC.
Yeah.
Or it doesn't even have to involve superheroes. It could be a comic that's just about like regular people.
Yeah. Like I don't know. You may or may not know this about me, but one of my favorite comic runs is Why the Last Man. So
yeah,
it could be something like that.
That's a lot.
I mean, but I'm not saying
we don't want to do an entire run of comics.
No, we could though.
That would take forever.
We could say in 3 months we're going to talk about Why the Last Man.
Yeah, I mean, I could read Why the Last Man in a few days, but
yeah,
if I have time.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I don't know. We'll figure it out.
We'll probably do Marvel Civil War.
Yeah,
I've never read it before, so
neither
I think
have
it's actually a good one to do.
The thing with Marvel Civil War is if you're not even including all of the tie-ins,
I'm
but
not
just the
including the
necessary.
tie-ins.
I know, but the necessary tie-ins, the ones that actually contain story bits that are needed to understand it, I think it's still like 60 issues.
I was just
gonna
gonna go buy the
the
thing
collection.
from the comic book store.
We could always do that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna just buy the collection that said, because usually the collections are like, here's what you need to read.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you need to read to understand the story.
Yeah.
That's what I was just gonna do. I don't read a lot of the side issues when it comes to these event things.
I see, and I'm like one of those collector people where I have to know everything that's going on with all the side issues.
Maybe you'll read the side issues.
We could do Original Sin too, because that's an 8-issue run.
We could, but I've read it before and it's not good.
I haven't read it yet.
Yeah, I don't like it. It's boring. The art in it's amazing. The art's great. The comic is you're kind of like, at first it starts off good. You're like, oh, what's going on here? And at the end you're just like, just fucking shut up. I don't care. But a lot of dialogue and nothing happens. You're like, okay, just stop.
That's a bummer.
Yeah.
Then maybe I won't read it.
Don't. Just don't. Okay. The art's good. So maybe just look at the pictures.
Yeah. I do think we should do we were talking about this Secret Wars 1 through 4. I think we'll do that in a couple weeks whenever the 4th issue, a week after the 4th issue comes out.
Is it coming out weekly?
Yes, the second one came out today, or is coming out today.
Shit, I should have grabbed that this morning before I left.
Yeah.
Well,
because at least from what I understand, the reviews have gone up this morning.
Maybe I'll go and see if I can get a copy this weekend.
Yeah, because then the week after volume 4 comes out, or issue number 4 comes out, we'll do 1 through 4, and a week after the last issue comes out, we'll do 4 through or 5 through 8. Yeah,
whatever.
So it's kind of rambling at the end.
Sorry, that was just us trying to figure out. Will you guys listen to what our plans are for the show?
Yeah. Like I said, let us know what you want us to do. I think we'll definitely do Batman Earth 1, whichever volume.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do both. Just condense it.
Yeah, maybe.
Because the volume 1, not a ton of stuff happened.
It's an origin.
Yeah, it's an origin.
So I know nothing of what happens in volume 2, so I'm excited to read volume 2.
Same with me. I thought it was really good.
Probably read it this weekend.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, suggest comics. It could be Marvel, DC, whatever. Superhero comics, non-superhero comics. Just a really good graphic novel by a comic artist that you thought was really good. I'm totally opening to reading stuff that's not superheroes. That's just what I mostly read.
Yeah.
So that's all of what I know. But if anyone knows anything that's non-superhero, and maybe it's just some comic person that you really like, tell us and we'll check it out. Try to find it and see if we can read it.
Yeah. Like I said, go support your local comic book shops.
Yep.
Scott, if we want to find you on the internet, where do we go?
Twitter and Instagram at ScottyBoy, BWO 4Ys.
3 Ys was taken. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Hagnerd, Hagnerd. You can follow us on Fuzzy Loaf, or at Fuzzy Loaf on Twitter. That was a tongue twister. You can find us on YouTube by searching Fuzzy Loaf, because YouTube doesn't have at features.
Yeah. We also do on the weekends a weekend roundup of all the movie and TV news and what we think of it.
And we tend to do a lot of movie and TV stuff related to comics because we're nerds, and that's what we like.
We're probably gonna go see Mad Max this weekend.
Yep.
If you're still down for that, probably maybe do a review on Mad Max afterwards.
Yeah. Me and one of my other friends, Matt, also Matt and Matt. We started a video game podcast on the channel. We do those on Thursdays, so if you want to watch that, you can do that. We'll probably maybe do some video game stuff too. I
don't know anything about video games, so I can't talk about video games. You know, I play
this. I was gonna say this nerd plays the Wii U.
I am buying a Wii U. I think a PlayStation 4 is pointless for me. Anyway, that's topic for a different day.
All right. So thank you so much. If you watched this on YouTube, give us a like, a comment.
A little scatterbrained, but we're working out what we want to do with the show here.
Yeah, this is episode I should have called this episode 0.
Round 0. No, it's episode 1. We'll move on from here. It's fine.
Yeah. And be ready by reading Batman Earth 1 Volume 1 and possibly 2 next week.
Just read them both.
Read them both. You know you want to. Peace out.
Oh yeah, smell you later.